let's get one thing straight, or rather 6 feet tall, right? According to the internet, that's the magic number. 6 feet, not 6 feet under, 6 feet above in security, right? Because it's become this unofficial entry requirement for modern dating apps, right? The golden ticket of Tinder, the metric that separates meh from must have, right? But here's the reality check: walk outside your algorithm and look around. Half the men happily married in relationships, pulling women with ease. They are not breaking 6 foot mark because charisma doesn't measure in inches. Let me tell you something, it measures in energy. We have built a digital illusion where height became a marketing feature instead of a genetic coincidence, right? The internet turned preference into propaganda. Now, every dating profile reads like a resume for NBA tryouts, if you think about it. But here's what nobody says: most of the people preaching 6 foot minimum, they are single, still searching, still swiping. That is not mockery, that is observation. Because in the real world, attraction isn't math, it's momentum, right? And you can't fake momentum, not even if you try. This obsession with height is a side effect of dating by data. If you think about it, we treat attraction like a spreadsheet, filtering by stats instead of substance. It's the illusion of control in a marketplace of chaos. Online, you can eliminate variables. You can swipe left on short men, broke men, bald men, tattooed men, shy men, and still not find peace. Because love does not happen in filters, it happens in friction. You think about it, the way someone listens, the way they carry presence, the way they make silence feel safe. Try coding that into a preference box. You try that, right? Let's talk philosophy for a minute. This 6 foot fixation isn't really about height, it's about hierarchy. Online, everything is performance, so people use symbols of perceived value. For men, it's money, muscles, and confidence. For women, it's beauty, body, and social proof. And height? Height became a shortcut for dominance. It signals protection, power, physical advantage, even if in reality the guy is just tall and awkward. At the end of the day, evolution gave us instinct. The internet gave us delusion. Offline, height isn't a love story, it's a footnote. People meet through context, not filters. Through eye contact, not algorithms. And that's why the so called short kings are winning. They learned what tall men sometimes don't have to: how to build charm, how to speak with rhythm, how to make laughter outshine limbs. Because when you're not relying on height, you have to develop presence. And presence, my friend, outlasts algorithm. Guess where it gets funny? Every man under 6 feet tall has heard some version of it, right? I usually date taller guys, but you are different. That line is not an exception, it's a confession. It means the illusion cracked, reality walked in. Because no matter what the internet says, the moment chemistry enters the room, every checklist goes out the window. And stop saying child and child and child. Just stop it. Because you can't measure magnetism, you can't quantify laughter, you can't digitize connection. But we keep trying. The irony is, most of the men fueling this height insecurity are doing better than they think. They just spend too much time reading comment sections written by people who don't live the life they describe. Because at the end of the day, you are what you consume. If you think about it, every time you keep watching the same stuff about men, short men having issues dating, you realize that that is what your algorithm keeps feeding you. And once that shapes your worldview, then you think you have a problem. My G, if you're under 6 foot tall, you don't have a problem. You just been consuming rubbish. Because social media amplifies extremes. You will see 10,000 posts about short men are out, but never 10,000 wedding photos proving it, right? Because real life isn't outrage, it's outcome. And the outcomes tells a different story. Let's zoom out for a bit. This isn't just about height, it's about how men internalize digital standards. We treat online opinions like natural law. We forget that people post for engagement, not accuracy. That 6 foot rule isn't the truth, it's clickbait. It's marketing disguised as preference. And too many men have swallowed it like gospel. You need to stop, my G. Now you've got 5'8" guys walking around apologizing for being fully functional human being, as if dating were a height competition instead of an emotional connection. Because confidence didn't shrink, perspective did. And here's the fact: confidence creates attraction faster than height ever could. The tallest man in the room gets noticed, that's a fact. But the most self assured man gets remembered. Tall is visual, Confidence is visceral. You cannot teach tall, but you can build presence, and presence bends perception. That's why some 5'7" men walk into a room and feel like 6'4" because self assurance adds invisible inches. Now, let's flip it on women for a second. The 6 foot rule isn't villainy, it's fantasy. It's a symbol of how modern dating became consumerism, right? We shop for partners like we shop for phones, features, upgrades, and aesthetics. We want the latest model with perfect specs. But love doesn't run on specs, if you know what I mean. It does not. It runs on symmetry, not physical symmetry, energetic symmetry. The right person doesn't complete your checklist. That's a fact. They don't. They disrupt it in ways that make you rethink the list. Check it. When I was in the dating game, very early in my early 20s, my goal was to date someone who is close to my height. So I'm 6'2", but I'm looking for, let's say, 5'10", 5'11". What was the reason for that? Because I did not want to bend over to hug. I wanted to hug. You see how silly that was? Looking back now, it makes no sense. Because at the end of the day, when I did run into girls who met those heights, either there was no connection, either the aura was off, we had no shared goals, no values, nothing was in sync. We were going separate ways, it made no sense. So the height in itself is just an illusion, right? It makes no sense. Because there's also something deeper at play, right? Because society taught women to equate safety with height, protection with power, security with stature. But safety isn't found in someone's shoulder, it's found in someone's character. Because at the end of the day, you don't need a man who is 6 feet tall. You need a man who stands tall in the moments that matters. The guy who listens when you are anxious, who shows up when it's inconvenient, who leads with calm, not control. That is security. And it doesn't require long legs, just strong principles. Because now we are raising a generation of people who know how to create attraction but not sustain it. We chase symbols instead of signals. We think love is a luxury brand, but it's not. It's a collaboration of imperfect timing, mutual respect, and patience, none of which care how tall you are. Let's bring in some humor for a minute. Check it out, check it out. You ever notice that the same women who say I only date tall guys are the same one crying over their ex who is not over 5'9"? Because gravity works both ways. And at the same time, men who complain about being overlooked will ignore emotional connection to chase visual perfection. At the end of the day, we are all hypocrites in the game of attraction. We say one thing and desire another. That's not deceit, that's human nature. So, what's the takeaway? Stop worshiping illusions. The 6 foot myth isn't about biology, it's about branding. It's the same marketing logic that sells anti aging cream and influencer confidence. But when you unplug from the algorithm, which you should do, you will realize nobody's walking around with a measuring tape. They are walking around with instincts, emotions, and curiosity. In real life, chemistry still beats calibration any day because depth still wins over digits. If you're a man under 6 feet tall, stop apologizing for what you cannot control and start mastering what you can. You can master your mind, your discipline, your energy, your peace. Those are things no algorithm can quantify, and no woman of value can ignore that because eventually every height fades in the background of noise. What remains is presence, the only thing that stands taller with time. So, yeah, the 6 foot standard might dominate the timeline, right? But in reality, it's a marketing illusion for people who haven't met anyone worth bending their own rules for. We know this, right? Because attraction isn't a measurement, it's a moment. And the right moment doesn't care if you are 5'6", 5'8", or 6'2". It only cares if you are there. Unless you really believe love is measured in inches. Well, I've said my own. Stop consuming rubbish and fix your mind. Catch you in the next one.